Hello, and welcome to the Black and White Football Podcast. This is Josh, and this is my co-host, Josh. We've kind of been absent for the last 2 weeks, but that was just because I got my wisdom teeth pulled 2 weeks ago, and then we had some technical difficulties last week, and we actually recorded an episode, but we just couldn't get it out because the quality just wasn't up to our standards.
Yeah,
so
unfortunately.
We're sorry about that, but we're back, and the last 2 weeks have been pretty frantic ending to the season, really. A lot of teams had made a lot of big moves, and the Ravens got fortunate that we had some people drop and lose some games, so we're now into the playoffs.
Yeah, and we look like a pretty good team going into the playoffs, and a lot of games just last week, they kind of determined the fate of a lot of teams, and we have some cool matchups coming up. And it should be a really fun postseason. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good games upcoming. We have games that start on Saturday. So when those games get started, I'm really excited. Like you said, I'm really excited for the playoffs in general. I'm expecting maybe some upsets.
I could see it.
Maybe just some blowouts, but we'll see. But with that, we'll hop right into, really, we're going to do a little bit of a shortened segments here just because we don't have any other games and we kind of want to get into playoff mode.
And we also, we both drove back from Philly today, so we're doing this episode after a very busy day.
Yeah, but with that, we could just hop right on into super spicy hot player of the week. We're just going to do one each this week just because, like we said, we're going to try to go more playoff mode this week. But my super spicy hot player of the week, and also he really deserves he definitely deserves, I believe, probably Rookie of the Year in the NFC, or at least Offensive Rookie of the Year in the NFC. It's Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah, he broke Randy Moss's rookie receiving yards record. He had himself 1,400 yards on the season, which was the fourth most. And then he also had 9 catches for 133 yards this week in general. So Justin Jefferson, he cemented himself as wide receiver 1, and the Vikings offense was kind of surprising. I think that when they drafted him out of LSU, they probably were expecting him to be more of a complimentary piece to Adam Thielen than to take his job only one season in. So Justin Jefferson just played well all season. He had 7 touchdowns this year on the season. So Justin Jefferson proved every single week in, week out, when Kirk Cousins would get him the ball, that Justin Jefferson would make catches.
Yeah, no, he's just been incredible. So much fun to watch, and probably be even better next year, which is great for the Vikings because they need some help to get into the postseason next year, and he's definitely going to give it to them. It's almost like the Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen thing now, and he's just flourishing this year there. So, and he's got Kirk Cousins thrown to him, so he's good because he can stay consistently good even with Kirk Cousins and his up and down antics. I chose Jonathan Taylor this week for my super spicy hot player because he had 253 yards on 30 carries and 2 touchdowns, which was 3 more yards than Derrick Henry on 4 less carries. They both had 2 touchdowns. So
it was insane.
Yeah, he just went off. It was against the Jaguars, but still, it's impressive in a game that you have to win. I mean, he showed up and he was Mr. Clutch. So he just went off and helped the Colts get into the playoffs, and he'll be an interesting one to watch in the next game. But I feel like there were also a lot of just like records broken, like milestone, I guess, records broken this past week.
Yeah, I also loved how it's just so good to see how well Jonathan Taylor's, I feel like Jonathan Taylor, I was honestly kind of torn about actually picking Justin Jefferson. I was considering picking J.K. Dobbins just because I feel like he really deserves a lot of due because he ran so well. I mean, he just looks... J.K. Dobbins looks like, as I've said, and I've said multiple times, it seems like there's a little group of running backs that we had in that class, this rookie class, where they just were waiting for their coach to kind of be like, okay, like, you can actually tote the ball 20 times a game. And, we had
reaping the benefits.
Yeah, we had J.K. Dobbins, like, we had DeAndre Swift. We kind of have Jonathan Taylor now. And Jonathan Taylor was... If you watch college football, you knew Jonathan Taylor was going to be a good running back in the NFL. Literally, no doubt. No doubt. But he kind of had fumble problems, so I think that's why he slipped a little bit in the draft. But, it's just so good to see him excelling, and same with J.K. Dobbins. These guys were really talented running backs. They were guys that you knew they were probably going to slip in the draft just because of the fact that running backs are, I guess you could say, a dime a dozen in the NFL at times. But still, it's good to see Jonathan Taylor excel and really push to be the lead back, even over Nyheim Hines. And they've had a lot of competition in that backfield with Wilkins as well, who's rushed well too. So it's good to see Jonathan Taylor right at the end of the season, going into the playoffs for them, kind of say, hey, I want to be the lead back.
I want to be the guy, and he should get the opportunity in the playoffs after a game like this.
Definitely.
So, yeah, he's great. And like you said, it's exciting seeing the young guys playing so well. But we can hop right into the playoffs because I'm actually talking about the Bills and the Colts. And I feel like it should be a decent game. I feel like Philip Rivers will do his best, but I don't think they will win. I think that the Bills are just a much better team. They destroyed the Dolphins last week, who are a formidable foe. They're pretty good, and they just made them look kind of silly. 26-56. Tua threw for a decent amount of yards, but had 3 interceptions. So the Bills defense came to play, and then Josh Allen threw for 3 touchdowns. And then Gabriel Davis, 107 yards, Stephon Diggs, 76. So I don't think the Colts are going to be able to just keep up with them. The Colts, of course, they have great players, such as Jonathan Taylor, like we just were talking about, and T.Y. Hilton and Michael Pittman Jr., but I feel like none of them have really, stepped up consistently. They'll have, big weeks maybe, but never, just on a consistent basis. So I don't know, I just feel like they don't have as much firepower as the Bills. Josh Allen, I feel like will just give the Colts a headache. I don't know. They're just not as exciting of a team as the Bills. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I just don't think that when you look at the Bills and Colts, it seems like they might have more of a fight of probably quarterback fight. You would think, and both defenses are pretty good with Darius Leonard, with the Colts, and the Bills have always kind of had a decent defense at times. So you think can Philip Rivers outduel Josh Allen, and I just don't think that's possible.
I don't think so either, and he threw so stupidly.
Philip Rivers kind of has a weird motion, but I don't see, even with that weird motion, him being good enough.
You just have Josh Allen, who's so great on his feet and in the air, and it's just...
And he's just looked so confident this year. He's looked a lot more confident than any other year in the past. So
yeah, it looks like he's grown a lot. And
I expect the Bills to really, really fight for that Super Bowl. The Bills are right in the contention, right with the Chiefs.
They're a scary team.
Really, I think any team, at least in the AFC, maybe with the exception of the Browns at this point, because of COVID protocol at this point, it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to put either together a team or they're going to be good enough with 17 people on COVID.
Yeah.
But anyway, most of the teams in the AFC, I think, will probably can all go to the Super Bowl if they get hot enough.
Yeah, I agree. Almost every team is at least slightly scary in one sense or another. So it's the AFC playoffs are going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So like you said, it just depends on who heats up at the right moment, and yeah. But yeah, I think Bills definitely got this. I think it'll be kind of close maybe at first, but I think it'll kind of just go the Bills' way towards later on.
I also think the Bills will definitely win the game.
For sure.
But yeah, the Bills are just a little bit better of a team. But I see them, the Bills seem on a mission to at least win a playoff game this year.
Yeah.
So I like the Bills in the game as well.
Yeah.
And with that, I mean, we could go right into the NFC games. We've got a lot of great games in the NFC. We got the Saints and the Bears, we'll see who wins that game. And
Yeah, I know.
we've got Washington football team in Tampa Bay. You would expect for Tampa Bay to take care of Washington football team, but we're just not 100% sure, but we'll see. And then we've got the ultimate game with Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
And we'll see if Jared Goff is going to be healthy enough to even play in the game. But I even if so, they have John Walford, who
Took down the Cardinals.
he beat the Cardinals, but Kyler Murray really didn't play at all the whole game. He came in the first drive and then got out injured. So
Yeah.
I don't really expect for the Rams to do really much of anything in this game if they don't have Jared Goff. Jared Goff is just so much better than Walford right now. Maybe Walford has potential, but there's no way that Walford is going to outduel the Seahawks unless the Rams' defensive line can really cause havoc for Seattle, because Russell Wilson, we've always seen, has not had a good offensive line.
Yeah.
And so if the Rams can get pressure, then maybe they can hold it to a low-scoring game and they give the Rams a chance to win.
Yeah, it's really going to come down to their defensive line probably. I mean, it's probably going to be that and just not turning the ball over at least on the offense and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, you never say never. It could definitely happen.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald is he's a force.
And it's the playoffs, so you just never know.
Exactly. We've seen it before with Nick Foles coming in, and not saying he's as good as Nick Foles at the time, but you never know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it should be a fun game nonetheless. But it seems like those games are a bit less exciting than the AFC this year. It's like they swap back and forth.
Yeah, obviously, I definitely like Seattle in the game.
Yeah, same.
I don't think that Seattle is just too good, and Russell Wilson just doesn't seem like he would be outdueled, at least quarterback-wise. Outdueled at all, really, by John Walford if he's the main quarterback of the Rams. So I just see Seattle taking this one. They're playing Saturday at 4:40, so it'll be an exciting game. We have a lot of great games on any slate, and then we have the Packers waiting in the wings and at the number one seed, and we also the Chiefs. Yeah, so we've got a lot of great games. We'll see a lot of great second round games, you were saying. We'll see a lot of really great second round games if there's no major upsets, I guess.
Yeah.
If we see some crazy upset, we might. But who's to say? Maybe the upset team wins.
Yeah, you never know. It's playoffs, baby.
The playoffs. But with that, we were gonna actually go right into the Ravens segment, but we're gonna just kind of do, I guess, more of just the Ravens. We could recap Week 17. The Ravens, really, there wasn't a whole lot to say. The Ravens, I mean, they dominated the Bengals. Just dominated from the beginning of the game to the end. You really, even when the Bengals got close, they had a red zone opportunity, and he throws an interception in the end zone to Marcus Peters, and it's just funny because I kind of have a feeling that the game was going to go the way it went, and it was just funny to see how big of a tier we are better than the Bengals. Even though I know they don't have Joe Burrow and such, but still, we just looked so much better. And any time the Bengals even got close, we shut them down.
Yeah.
And I mean, as we were saying earlier, J.K. Dobbins, he ran all over the place, and Lamar looks really good.
Yeah. He's the first quarterback in NFL history, I believe, to pass, to have 2 consecutive seasons with more than 1,000 yards.
Rushing.
Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah, so Lamar's breaking records out there.
And the Ravens were also the first team since 1940 to have like 400 total rushing yards, was it? So it's pretty cool. They're kind of getting their stuff together now, and finally looking like the Ravens of last year. But I think we're gonna be a little bit better this year going up against the Titans. I think it's gonna be. This is more of a revenge game than like the regular season, if there was gonna be one, because we're going to their home this time, and we're getting a rematch. And I mean, it's kind of cool. This could be a fun way to start off the playoffs, because if we get a win, that's gonna fire up the team. But Yeah, I have a lot more confidence in the Ravens now than I did previously, because since like week 13 they've really been playing very well. And yeah, the Bengals just didn't have a chance at all. Just no shot at winning this one.
Yeah, we looked like we were in a whole nother class of
Yeah.
the whole game. It was just from beginning to end. So really loved to see it, because people were thinking that we might wind up doing maybe like we did the last time, where it was close and Tyler Boyd played, but he didn't do anything. So
Yeah, it looked like a trap game on paper, but it was not that.
Not at all.
Did not allow that.
So the question I have for you is, can the Ravens beat the Titans this playoffs? I actually do have multiple questions, but my first question is, can the Ravens beat the Ravens beat the Titans?
I'm going to say yes and yes. And the Titans' defense is a bit sketch. We've seen in the past 2 weeks. They've allowed a lot of points, and to teams like the Texans just put up a bunch of points on them. We're better than the Texans. And, I mean, if you asked me this question like 5, 6 weeks ago, I don't know, I probably would have said no. But, like, right now, yeah, I think so. I think they really just finally clicked, and they're starting to figure out who they are again. Greg Roman's finally starting to make some common sense play calls.
Plays.
Yeah, that actually is good for the type of team we are. And J.K. Dobbins is finally starting to get first RB1 touches, which is awesome, because we've just been waiting for that.
Yeah, with Gus right behind him. So.
Yeah, with Gus right behind him, 1 carry less. But they're a fantastic 1-2 punch, and then have Mark Ingram in that group. If anything, just to mentor them. I mean, that's not a bad thing at all. Like, that's like having another coach. Yeah. So it's a great thing. I just think we're finally clicking, and I think we will beat the Titans, and I think it's going to be a great win, no matter how close, just because it is just going to be great after losing to them twice. It's just like, let's just get this W and go on with the playoffs.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Ravens are hopefully, I think and I'm hoping the Ravens are at a turning point where they can actually win this game. It's kind of weird, because our line has gotten a little bit better as the season went on, and it seems like our rushing attack is a lot better, especially because it seems like also that DJ Fluker is more of a running blocker, and he's doing a lot of downhill running with the Ravens, and it would seem like he's worked out well for just a 1-year signing.
Yeah.
But I like the Ravens in this game as well. I don't know how close it'll be. I feel like with the Titans, I think that a lot of times they tend to get blown out in games because they stick with Derrick Henry once their defense has been poor.
Yeah.
And I think that could hurt them in this game if we get out on them early, which I would really hope that the Ravens can get out on them early immediately, because we've had problems with starting so slow against good teams and in playoff games.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like prime time against really good teams. We just seem to just lose it for some reason.
Yeah.
So hopefully we've learned from our past mistakes. And I mean, like, what was it, the Browns game where we had that like incredible like opening drive? I don't know if it was at the Browns Giants.
Yeah.
It was the Giants, and we had just that like perfect just opening drive. Like, I feel like we kind of need that against the Titans, just to at least just like make a statement. Like, all right, this is different. This isn't going to be this like last time. But
just to really open the offense up, I think that it helps if we start off immediately with a good offensive drive, because it helps the confidence of everybody on the team.
Yeah, and the Ravens, the way we're built, we're not exactly a comeback team, just because we're very run heavy, and that doesn't work well when you're behind. So getting a lead early is big, just because then you basically have control of the game, and we do it incredible with like clock control and all that. So I think a big thing is just getting an early lead and just kind of maintaining it.
Yeah.
I think our defense is going to be a lot better this time than they were earlier on in the season. Plus, I don't think we had Judah on then, did we?
No, he was a little bit injured. And we also, Calais Campbell, I believe, was a little bit injured in that game, I believe.
So now I think we're a little bit more healthy, at least in some areas, to where I think it'll help us out a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I also had another question for you.
Sure.
Who is your Ravens player of the year? Of the regular season, at the very least.
Marlon Humphrey.
Okay.
I think so. He just balled out this year. I mean, he made the fruit punch an official thing, I feel like. Like, the amount of fumbles, like, I could look up how many he had. I don't remember off the top of my head. But, I mean, he was, like, leading the league, basically. And, like, it just seems like every game he was getting, like, forcing a fumble, whether it got recovered or not. It was just up to chance, basically. But he was still forcing, like, fumbles. Like, and then he got Marcus Peters doing it too. So it's like he's, I mean, obviously showing his, like, teammates kind of coaching them and stuff. Like, I feel like he's just kind of taking over that defense, at least with the cornerbacks. Like, he's, like, the leader there.
Yeah.
Like, and he is just an incredible player, and it's been so much fun watching him this year. And I mean, he just seems like a super great person also, like, just like a super chill person, so it makes him even more, like, lovable just because his Instagram and Twitter is hilarious. But yeah, I think I'd had to go with him. He's just, I love seeing a great cornerback, and I love seeing a great cornerback in a Ravens jersey.
Yeah. No, it's Marlon Humphrey's definitely a great pick because we have a lot of really good players that seem like they stand out, but Marlon at least has been very consistent this year.
Oh, yeah.
He was always there and didn't really get injured much, so
No.
which was a very rare thing for any Ravens player on the team.
Especially cornerbacks. What about you?
I'd say my player of the year, I don't know, that's a good question. I'd say if it was a really low-key, or at least slightly low-key, it'd probably be Patrick Ricard. Just because he played so many games, and he's really just a huge addition to the blocking scheme. And with Nick Boyle out for the season, mid-season, it really hurt us. And Patrick Ricard has still been there, and even though he had COVID, he came back, and he still played just as well. And he's just he's just one of the best fullbacks. It seems like the Ravens get fullbacks, and they're just so successful in the scheme that John Harbaugh kind of puts into place for them. And so, I mean, Patrick Ricard I would say he's probably my player of the year.
He's one of those, like, unsung heroes. I don't think a lot of people realize just how important he is and how much he contributes, and just a lot of stuff that we don't see.
Yeah.
Or necessarily just, like, pay attention to, such as, like, blocking and stuff like that, just to get plays to actually happen. And he's just so good at what he does. He really is. Like you said, he's, like, the best fullback, and we really use him to his, like, strengths. And yeah, he's a great player. I've loved him so much since we got him.
Yeah. I have just but one more question for you before we end it here. Who is your Super Bowl prediction?
I'm gonna go ahead and say, for the AFC, I'm torn. I'm really torn, and this isn't because of bias. Well, it probably is, but between the Bills and the Ravens, I feel like those are the two best teams in the AFC, in my opinion. I think they're. I mean, the Chiefs are also great, but I think these two have a real shot at the Super Bowl. And I could see a championship game between them if, like, I don't think we would face each other before them. But yeah, I think they're just so great, and I could see either one of them beating the Chiefs. So I'm gonna say Ravens, but Bills are, like, right under, just because I just think they're also good. But Ravens, and I'm gonna go with the Saints.
Okay.
I don't know. It's hard. That or the Packers. I don't know. But the Packers, like, I think their, like, run defense isn't great. And, like, I mean, Kamara could maybe expose that, like, in a championship game if they play. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough because I feel like with the NFC, it's like it could be the Packers, it could be the Saints, it could be the Seahawks, it could even be the Buccaneers.
It could be.
So it's like, it's hard to choose on that side. But I think a Ravens Saints would be fun, and I mean Ravens Buccaneers could be fun. I would love to see Lamar going up against, like, Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, like, before they retire.
That'd be interesting.
So or Drew Brees, because I mean I love Drew Brees. But yeah, I don't know. Between them and the Packers, I guess it's.
So you have Saints and Ravens. Is that you're locked in?
Ravens, Packers.
Ravens, Packers. Okay.
I'm gonna go with that. The Packers are so good. I don't know, man. It's tough. It's like the Packers.
That's
I
why
could
I
see
had to
them.
put you on the spot.
Yeah, I could see them maybe getting their like defense kind of like.
So Ravens, Packers.
I'll go Ravens, Packers right now. Yeah. What about you?
I'd have to say I honestly can say I think that I would have to go with Packers, Chiefs.
Okay, that could be a good one.
I think that the Chiefs are, I don't know, it just seems like whenever Patrick Mahomes plays very poorly, he usually plays just good enough to win.
That's
no
true.
matter who he plays. And I just don't know if I see him losing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he's going to turn clutch mode.
I'm sorry, I don't know if I see him losing in the playoffs again. I just don't know if anybody in the AFC will ultimately be better than him. I don't know if I could see the Chiefs. I don't know if I could see the Bills being better than the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. I don't know if I could see. I certainly don't see the Steelers being better. So, I mean, like you said, I feel like, in my opinion, we kind of have ultimately three favorites in the AFC with the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs, I actually think. I don't know if I would say the Titans are overall overly huge threat.
Yeah,
but
really.
I don't know. But I would say Packers and Chiefs. But
I think that would be a great Super Bowl, no doubt about that. You have Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams and Patrick Mahomes to Tyreek Hill. Like, man, that's that wouldn't be bad. Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see the Ravens get in, but I think that I think that ultimately, I think with the Ravens, even if we can get to the AFC Championship game, I think that eventually it's going to hurt us with the lack of our line depth, and I think that could definitely hurt us with the best teams and in big moments. I could see them being not as good and being a little bit worse than they have been during the regular season.
You'll be playing top tier defensive lines, and you're gonna have to really be playing your A game.
Yeah.
Like you said, we've just had some injuries that have just been very unfortunate. That might, I mean, if you're pressuring Lamar, I mean, he's one of the best at getting out of it. But like, if it's just constant to where like he can't let anything develop, I mean, we need like time for things to. So it really comes down to how well our line can block, and I mean we've pieced it together as well as we possibly could at this point, and we'll see how they do. I mean, it really depends. I do agree that would probably be our downfall if it were to happen. We saw it earlier in the year, so, yeah. I mean, I could definitely see a Chiefs Packers Super Bowl, definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of great games that have been played. And we thank you for sticking with us. We've had, unfortunately, 2 weeks of non-activity, but we will be active more, and we'll definitely be back next week. We'll to talk about the playoffs, especially if the Ravens get some upsets in, and so we'll be rooting for them, and I'm sure you all will be rooting for your teams. But as for that, that'll be it. Because we're not going to do any Simply Splendid this week just because fantasy is over. And
unfortunately.
So we'll wait till next season for that. But we thank you for listening. Once again, we always say remember to check out the Patreon page and make sure to like and subscribe and share it also on Facebook. And thank you to the people that listen. We appreciate you as listeners.
Yeah, Josh basically said it better than I could have. So thanks for listening, and see you next week, I guess. We'll talk to you all next week.
Yeah.